Hey YouTube, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge. Part of the evolution of my videos not only includes striving to make each video better, but to try new things such as techniques or equipment. I'm using my DSLR Nikon D750 full frame camera today, as I've always been tempted to see why a videographer at a charity event last year was using this instead of a traditional camcorder. I usually use my Canon Vixia R800, which is 3 years newer, but also 3 to 5 times cheaper if you count the lens currently attached to my camera. We're also testing today a mic my friend lent to me, the Rode Video Micro compact on-camera microphone as well. Without further ado, today's video will help you describe each of the 6 starting characters that you'll find in Gloomhaven to your friends. There are many simple ways for your friends to choose their starting character, such as what they look like, what their backstory is, or what their character looks like what they do. But in terms of the longevity of the game and having a good time, especially since this is a legacy game that can span tens if not 100 campaigns of Gloomhaven, it's good to pick a character that suits a player's playstyle. So let's look at the characters in detail to see how they really work. So the first character we're going to look at is called the Savas Crackheart. That is not the character's name, but is actually the race and the type of race it is. If we want to take a look at the miniature, that's what the miniature looks like. While the Savas Crackheart looks like something like a tank or a fighter, it could be farther from the truth. When you look at the ability cards in detail, the Crackheart is actually a mostly ranged character and maybe one of the more consistently ranged character. And I say consistently because there are some cards that will, once you use it, it's lost, so you can't use it again in that scenario unless you have a specific card that can bring it back, which is rather rare. So the Savas Crackheart character can actually do ranged abilities quite often and at AoE. And they also have quite a few abilities to heal. So if you liked doing ranged AoE damage and you like to heal, Savas Crackheart might be your character. He has very few melee abilities. When they are, it's typically AoE as well, but is mostly ranged. I'd say 80 to 90% of the Crackheart ability cards are ranged. The next character that we're going to look at is the human Scoundrel. Miniature. The human Scoundrel character is almost exactly what you would expect, unlike the Crackheart. She has fast initiative, so she'll be moving faster than other players, both players and hopefully monsters. She can apply poison to her enemies. Poison in Gloomhaven makes any damage that the enemy takes add 1 damage, so they're doing more damage to that specific creature. The human Scoundrel, as you expect as a thief, has a lot of cards that allows you to loot, so you'll be getting a lot of money in the game, which is good for you, but not necessarily the party. You don't want to be looting everything because in Gloomhaven, unlike other types of D&D-like games, there's no sharing of items or money. So if you're looting everything, you're actually denying it from your party members. As you expect, the human Scoundrel character also has high DPS, big movement, and is mostly melee. She does have a ranged abilities from level 1, which she can use multiple times, but is one of her rare ranged abilities. She'll be mostly a melee character, and usually she'll be flanking the enemies to do most of her damage. The next character that we're looking at is the Inox Brute. if you take a look at it, so similar to the human Scoundrel, the Inox Brute is very similar in like what you see is what you get. So he's your tank-like character. He is mostly melee, very few ranged abilities. He's more of a fighter than a tank in that he has mostly attack abilities. He has some tanking abilities like retaliate or shield, but not as many as you would think for a tank. So it's more fighter, less tank. One of the special abilities of the Brute is that he will have push abilities, which is great when you want to keep enemies away from you or push them into traps. The Inox Brute is one of the few starting characters that also has the Pierce ability, which will pierce through shields, so you can do better damage possibly against higher level creatures or against bosses. So for our next character, we have the Vermin Ling Mind Thief. I never thought that you would have this type of character as a starting character, but here we go. As you can see, a Vermin Ling is kind of like a rat man. The Vermin Ling Mind Thief has faster initiative than other characters, which is as expected. It can summon rat creatures, such as swarms or up to later levels a rat king. It'll do more damage to debuffed enemies. So a human Scoundrel and a Vermin Ling Mind Thief would work hand in hand because the Scoundrel may poison the target and the Vermin Ling Mind Thief will attack it and do more damage thanks to the Scoundrel. The Vermin Ling Mind Thief also has a few loot ability cards, so he'll be a looter as well. And he has this buff card called Augments. He has 3 to 5 of those kind of cards. And what they do is, kind of like a Paladin's Aura, you use this Augment, it stays on the board until you use another Augment to replace it, and it provides a buff only for the Vermin Ling Mind Thief. Whether it gives you extra shield, it heals you on attacks, or maybe it does more damage. I really like the Augment, but remember, in the scheme of everything, that means there's one card that you're not reusing over and over. It's just staying on the field. But there is flexibility in that you can switch out the Augments when you need it. So if you want to do a lot of damage, you use that Augment. If you want to tank a little bit, you switch the Augment to the one that allows you to tank. And the Vermin Ling Mind Thief, if you can imagine it, is a little bit is a mix of both ranged and melee. The 5th character for Gloomhaven starting characters is the Orchid Spellweaver. So the Orchid Spellweaver is almost exactly like you would think, kind of like the Scoundrel and the Brute, in that it's a spellcaster. So we're talking about mostly ranged abilities. Unlike the Crackheart, the Orchid Spellweaver has AoEs, but limited. So the AoEs she'll do she'll only be able to do it a certain number of times, or I feel like less than the Crackheart. Are they more powerful? I haven't really tested that out. She does have the ability to heal, just like the Crackheart, and like the Crackheart is a slower type of character. She does have some abilities that does allow her to tank a little bit if you have the right cards, but kind of works along the same ways as Crackheart. Maybe more consistent single target ranged abilities, whereas the Crackheart is more consistent AoE abilities. And one thing, because I didn't show at the very beginning, but the Orchid Spellweaver has less starting health than the Crackheart. She has 6, while the Crackheart has 10. So very much like a glass cannon. So if you want to deal range damage and heal, but do it from afar, you might want to be the Crackheart. If you want to be more run and gun, slip in and out, you might be the Spellweaver. The last starting character for Gloomhaven is the Quatro Tinkerer. Quite possibly the smallest character of the party. Unlike the Scoundrel, Brute, and Spellweaver, the Tinkerer is actually the name of the character gives it more away than the looks. The Quatro Tinkerer is very much the classic healer. He has about 4 or 5 healing spells, so more than any other player. So if you like playing the healer, you're going to want to be the Tinkerer. Now, and it does have 8 hit points, so it's more than the Spellweaver. So the Quatro Tinkerer is a ranged only character. It has very few, if any, melee abilities. I feel like if you like a utility type of class, someone that can do everything, someone that uses traps, the Tinkerer is your go-to character as well, because you'll be able to summon traps and maybe pull enemies into it, or maybe have the Brute push them into the trap. So just as a quick recap for all the characters, if you're looking for a tank, you're looking for the Inox Brute. If you're looking for ranged characters, you're looking for the Savas Crackheart, the Orchid Spellweaver, and the Quatro Tinkerer. If you want to heal, we recommend the Quatro Tinkerer, then either the Savas Crackheart or the Orchid Spellweaver. If you want utility and summons, you'll either go for the Vermin Ling Mind Thief or the Orchid Spellweaver. If you want to loot, the Human Scoundrel is your one to go, Mind Thief, then the Inox Brute. If you want to be a fast character, you'll pick the Human Scoundrel or the Mind Thief. So that concludes today's video on a comprehensive look at the 6 starting characters of Gloomhaven. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let me know in the comments below who is your go-to character. Check out my blog, nightknowledge.com, for other videos on board games, video games, or even my photography. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.